Ferrari FF road test. Which is to say that the entire car, in the way that it's been designed and conceived, feels like the product of some combination of excess and depravity spliced with engineering perfection. Is there sex in this car? Oh yes, it lives and breathes it, and our car wasn't even the obligatory Rosso Maranello, I might add, but there's also a sense that it's a little more reeled in until the time is right. The 651 horsepower, 6.3-liter V12 whirs with just the right amount of bravado up to about 3,000 revolutions per minute, provided you keep your right foot light on the accelerator. Use the manual mode and paddle shifters, as you should with the F1-derived gearbox, and as you near 5,000 revolutions per minute it emits a glorious roar. Stick it out to around 8,000 revolutions per minute, and it's a guttural howl, all as the car, somewhat miraculously, seems to have no issue with traction. Understanding the FF's mechanical layout, which some might find simultaneously relatively straightforward and utterly ridiculous, is perhaps the key to understanding how the FF drives the way it does. There's a smaller, 2-speed transmission, plus reverse, in front of the engine, with the main 7-speed gearbox mounted aft. A viscous clutch pack works the magic between the two, and probably go a long way to making brute force acceleration in the FF remarkably docile, muting the shift shock that you feel in the Nissan GT-R, for instance. There are pluses and minuses to that. The downside of course is that the FF ends up feeling a bit less like an all-out sports car and more like a touring coupe. Yet the system has some real advantages. It weighs about 50% less than most all-wheel drive systems. And it keeps the weight and traction bias of the car at the rear. Pushing the FF progressively harder on a twisty mountain road, you can tell that its weight distribution is biased toward the rear, 53%, according to the spec sheet, yet as you increase the Gs around some of the tightest corners, you feel the four-wheel drive system at work, doing what feels like gently rotating the car while tightening your line. On faster sweepers, the FF feels every bit like a rear-wheel drive touring sports car. But slow it down, as we did, on the tightest, smoothest hairpin with plenty of runoff, and attempt to find glorious oversteer mode, or realistically, anything short of the slight understeer that this car defaults to, and there's an odd personality change in the car, as the front wheels don't understeer. There's a tugging from the front wheels, which seems to be helping rotate the car, in subtle ways. In effect, it's helping you get around corners, but in quite a different way than in most supercars or performance all-wheel drive systems. And while it felt a little juddery around a tight, smooth pavement hairpin, I can see how this system would shine as soon as the available traction went into the realm of snow, sleet, and rain-slicked roads, allowing something more akin to a drift in which you could tightly control the radius with your hands and right foot. During the time we had the FF, the reliably misty, and snowy in the mountains, Pacific Northwest winter weather was instead crisp, clear, and sun-drenched, sadly. Once you're on a road that mixes low-speed corners and high-speed sweepers, things make even more sense. It feels like it's all about torque flow. Essentially the system doesn't deliver any power to the front wheels when you're above 4th gear or about 80 miles per hour, whichever comes first. Whereas in lower speed corners you're better served diverting some of that torque to the front wheels. To your passengers, the FF is remarkably civil, and free of mechanical whines and gronches. There's something gloriously rebellious about the way the car goes about its business, about all the power on tap, and the animal let out and high RPM driving that's kept mild-mannered otherwise. Multiple driving modes affect the ride quality through the magnetorheological shocks. And there's even a bumpy road mode here that allows a little more compliance.